everybody. How you doing? Woo! Welcome to the PHLY Flyers Trade Deadline Special. My name is Bill Matz. I am your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me here live in the Xfinity Lounge, we have Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor, as he tip-taps away following this huge Nic Deslauriers trade news. We're going to get to that in just a moment. Also joining me here in the Xfinity Lounge, it's Mr. Flyperbole, Steve Jaco. What's going on today, gentlemen?
I'm just here with all my insider sources. You know, I'm very connected in the industry, and I know what's going on. I know nothing, folks. I know nothing.
All right, so to catch everyone up, we did have a, 13, 14-minute emergency pod earlier this morning in response to the Flyers trading Bobby Brink. Bobby Brink goes to the Minnesota Wild in exchange for former 6th overall pick David Jiricek. There was also an AHL transaction, Alexis Gendron and Massimo Rizzo to the Bruins organization for Brett Harrison and Jackson Edward. Not a whole lot to talk about with that one.
What do you mean?
And now, just before we went live, we got word that enforcer Nic Deslauriers is headed to the Carolina Panthers. I just saw
Carolina Panthers?
The Carolina
Panthers. He's switching sports.
What did I say? Oh, the Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes.
He's switching sports. He's going to become,
Great start.
At age 36, he is changing careers. He's going to become a linebacker.
Old
for the
school safety,
Panthers.
Michael Lewis style safety maybe in the box.
If there's one guy we're talking about today that could do that, it's Nic Deslauriers.
I'm envisioning like Jeremiah Trotter, like undersized, mean middle linebacker type.
Yeah. Late career Trotter. Where it was like, you throw a swing pass, you're screwed. But if you don't block that A-gap, you're getting hurt. Nic Deslauriers to the Carolina Hurricanes. We got word, I just saw Sarah Volley say it was a late round conditional pick. Charlie, I think you have more?
Yeah, I'm able to confirm. So I'm told it's a 7th round pick in 2027. But what I'm told is that there are conditions on the pick to the point where there's a decent chance they may not get anything. This seems like it is we're rewarding the good soldier by sending him to a team that wants him, and maybe he can go on a cup run.
And we saw a tweet from a Carolina beat reporter that said Rod Brendamore he had liked this player in the past. He'd wanted him previously, and now I guess Tulski ran to the bathroom and Brendamore picked up the phone and said, "Let me get the fighter," while the nerd was washing his hands, I guess.
Yeah, I spiked his coffee with like a laxative Mission Impossible style, and he ran away.
No, I just heard from a team source that basically said that this deal, more than anything else, is about giving Deslauriers a chance to play on a team that is going to make the playoffs and potentially go very far in the playoffs. Look, Nic Deslauriers was never the kind of guy who was going to score a lot of points, who was never going to grade out well by the numbers, but he was beloved in that room. And the organization really appreciated everything he did in terms of helping out the young guys, in terms of fighting on behalf of young guys, on behalf of anybody on that team. He got a lot of scars for this organization, and like I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like the signing when they did it, but I can tell you, covering him for 3 2/3 years, great guy. I can totally understand why the organization wants to do right by him, and good on them.
25 fights in his first 2 seasons as a Philadelphia Flyer, only 8 in the regular season and 1 in the preseason. Since then, it's been harder and harder for heavyweights to find dance partners, and we saw that with Nic Deslauriers over the last couple of years. I just saw Chris Johnston tweeted, Philadelphia claims Luke Glendening off waivers from New Jersey. That could potentially be a Grundstrom replacement, a 4C replacement. He is almost 37 years old. He has played 52 games for Jersey this year, no goals, 4 assists, so he'll fit in quite nicely on our fourth line.
He's not very good anymore. One thing he is good at, though, he's good at faceoffs.
Well, they could use that.
He's a good faceoff guy. No, this claim does make me wonder if Carl Grundstrom is on his way out too. Now, maybe he's not. You could keep Grundstrom, move him back over to his natural wing, and just have Glendening play center, but it does make me wonder if Grundstrom could also be on his way out. But we have 2 trades so far today. Bobby Brink is gone. We obviously broke that down in our emergency pod earlier, and now Nic Deslauriers has a new home. We're now just waiting on the big name, Rasmus Ristolainen.
As we await any potential news on Rasmus Ristolainen, I do want to get back to the biggest move they have made thus far, sending Bobby Brink to the Wild for David Jiricek. Steve, you weren't on the emergency pod. What was the first thing you thought when you saw this morning?
You know, we've been talking so much about how a winger has to go, right? There's just a logjam at wing. So it was a move that we all kind of expected to happen with either Brink or Tippett or somebody like that. And Brink was always, I think, the first one that came to mind because his role here on a team that's not exceptionally good was a third-line winger usually. So, you know, it made a lot of sense to send Brink out. And Minnesota, I mean, come on. That's just a natural fit based on where he's from and everything.
From Minnetonka, Minnesota.
Minnetonka. Yeah. Bobby or Brink over there.
The healing waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Oh, it's just poetic right
it's
there.
So good.
But, you know, we all like Bobby Brink.
Yeah.
I think every team wants a Bobby Brink. He's a nice player to have. He's a smart player. He plays bigger than his size. But ultimately, he doesn't have the potential of a lot of the other guys you're putting in there. You know, you've got to make room for Martone. You got to see what Bump's got. You've got Forrester coming back next season. So you have a lot of mouths to feed at wing, and Brink made a lot of sense to send out. And defense, as far as defensive goes, you know, the defensive depth in the minors and the young guys, they don't have a lot going on. So this is a great guy to take a flyer on, to take a swing at. 22 years old, like this is a guy who you can hopefully grow like you've done with Ristolainen in the past few years, but significantly younger than when you acquired Ristolainen.
Yeah, and this isn't something I've reported, but it's been reported by enough people that are in the know. It's just not something I've really dug on. I've been focusing on other things. It seems like Alex Bump is going to get the call after the deadline. I believe Kevin Kerr's reported that. Then Bill Meltzer, who's literally a team employee, reported that. So it seems like that's going to happen. And that's an exciting thing. Number one, because Bump is an extremely interesting prospect. Number two, he's really been getting it going recently in terms of his play in the AHL. Looking at his numbers over the last 7 games he's played, he has 6 points, 4 goals in his last 7. The shots on goal totals, I'm doing some quick math here. Looks like over his last 7 games, he has, or his last 6 games actually, it's 6 points in his last 6 games, 4 goals in his last 6, and over those last 6 games, he has 21 shots on goal. So it seems like it may be clicking for him. He's back healthy, and now he's going to get a look. Another thing that's interesting is that he's a natural left-handed shot. He's a left wing, so maybe he slides in for Brink, and then maybe you can move Michkov back over to right.
Well, that is, I saw Jordan Hall tweeted earlier. Looks like Matvei Michkov is on a line with Cates and Denver Barkey at practice.
Let's go.
Barkey, a left-handed left winger. It's actually all 3 guys left-handed. So one of those wingers is going to have to play their offside. We know one of them really wants to.
Yeah, right.
So in all likelihood, it'll be Denver Barkey on the right wing. But I do think, like, okay, here we go. 21 games left in the Flyers season. Perhaps we can see Michkov on his more natural side. He's a lefty on the right side. We've seen him in the past create quite a bit of offense. There is more shooting room. I think there's just more options when you're on your off wing, when you are a guy like Mish, who is an equal threat to pass or shoot. So hopefully that is what we see with Bobby Brink now. He is a right wing. Like that's his position. Pure right winger. That opens up that spot. And now with Deslauriers also on the way out, there's a couple of wing slots opened up to call up Alex Bump. So that will be cool. We'll get to see another new guy.
Yeah.
On the Jiricek side of this, Charlie. Mm-hmm. We see he's reporting to the Phantoms, at least initially. This is probably just to get him eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs, right?
Yes. So the rule in the AHL, because he spent a lot of time in the AHL this year, I wouldn't be surprised if the Flyers want to leave this option open. If you want a guy to be eligible to play in the AHL playoffs, he has to be on the AHL roster at the deadline. Then you can call him back up. Now, there's a world where the Flyers don't trade Ristolainen, and we'll get into him in a few minutes before I have to go. There's a world where the Flyers don't trade Ristolainen, and maybe they keep Jiricek down in the minors for a little bit because there's just not an obvious spot for him. But if there is a spot for him, I imagine they would call him up. They would just do it after the deadline because they want to leave the option open for Jiricek to play for the Phantoms in the AHL playoffs. I think that would be good for him. He's still a he was still a young defenseman who could get some value out of playing in the postseason for the Phantoms and also just acclimating himself even further to the organization. So I don't think the fact that he was sent to the AHL right after the trade is a sign that they are not going to trade Ristolainen. I don't think they know one way or the other at this point if they're going to trade Ristolainen or not.
Now, David Jiricek, very interesting player, taken 6th overall in 2022. It's one pick behind Cutter Gauthier. And I remember going in, that was, we have heard since that maybe they weren't all that high on Shane Wright. So I do wonder, like, say Cutter goes early, if this is a guy that they've had their eye on as a, maybe we would have drafted him 5th. Maybe this is like, oh, you know what? Cutter never happened, and we just drafted this guy all as well.
Yeah, that's actually what happened. We actually took David Jiricek.
Yeah.
Forget about everything that happened over the last 4 years. We actually took David Jiricek with the 5th
What's the thing?
Pick.
Retcon. That's what you always say.
Retconned it, yeah. It's all been retcon.
Interesting player.
Break out the neuralizer for Men in Black.
That's what I was kind of hoping would happen with the Sabres, too. We trade Ristolainen and get Rosen back. Not back, but get Rosen. Yeah. That trade never happened either.
That would have been very funny, actually.
Just checking in on Jiricek, what he's done production-wise since turning pro. Pretty interesting. His first 2 years as a pro in the AHL, pretty damn good numbers. 2022-23, 6 goals, 38 points in 55 games. And 23-24, 7 goals, 19 points in 29 games. And then another 11 points in 14 playoff games. He was very productive in the AHL his first couple of years. He's spent some time in the NHL, 43 games for Columbus in 23-24, but he's only played 37 since. The production in the AHL's dropped a little. I wonder if that's stagnation or unhappy in his surroundings, maybe just not getting the most out of him. What is it with Jiricek's development that Minnesota's like, yeah, we'll trade him for a good third liner?
Well, it's clear he's stagnated. One thing I will say is that the Iowa Wild are really bad. So it could be the dip in production at the AHL level could be a result of him playing on a really bad team. Alex Appleyard, who's actually working on, keep an eye out for this, especially if you're a diehard, he's working on an in-depth breakdown of David Jiricek's game, his stats, his development, what he could become, what he is now. That'll be up, I would assume, on allphly.com at some point over the next 24 to 36 hours. But that could explain the Iowa Wild thing. Appleyard posted some stats about his production in Iowa, that it's actually better than you might think. Now, if you're talking about the NHL stagnation, that's more interesting. My understanding is that, so the two things that come up when you talk about Jiricek and why he hasn't lived up to being the 6th overall pick in 2022 yet are, number one, the skating, and number two, the decision-making. With the puck, without the puck, everything like that. What I was told was that the skating's not great. He's never been a great skater. He's never going to be a fantastic skater. He's not awful. He is a passable NHL skater, and for a guy with his size, he's 6'4", he can make do. The real problem with Minnesota that Minnesota had with him was the decision-making. And they are a team that's gunning for a cup, especially after trading for Quinn Hughes. They don't necessarily want to have a guy as a third-pair defenseman that they can't rely upon to not blow a game with a blown coverage, late in the third period. They want to have a more steady guy in that role. So that's kind of why they sent him down. Look, they're a team that's looking to go for it. Bobby Brink helps them win now. Jiricek, I don't necessarily think that they hate the guy. They gave up a first, a second, a third, and a fourth round pick for the guy just a year and a half ago. It's just that he doesn't fit what they're trying to do now. They're now in win now mode, not just because they want to win now. They got to convince Quinn Hughes to stay. And Bobby Brink helps them win now. David Jiricek does not. The Flyers could potentially take full advantage of that if they can properly develop Jiricek.
And I like the play on potential upside here. I love opening up the wing slot as well. But just, we heard the quote, I think it might have been from Jonesy, like on a national broadcast last week, where they were reporting, we're not really trying to get much younger. And this kind of flies in the face of that. And I've said this with their pickiness at center. Like, all right, we don't like Shane Wright. We don't like Elias Pettersson. Robert Thomas, price way too. Like, when do we just say this is what we can do? I think Jiricek's a little different than that, but just the idea of playing for upside. Is he a 25-year-old top pair defenseman? No, but the potential's there. There's a reason he was drafted 6th overall. Now, at a certain point, you are what you are, and your draft pedigree doesn't matter. But I think he's still young enough where you can say this could be a top 4 guy. This might even be a top pair guy if you factor in what he might be able to do on the power play for you with the big shot.
You got that size, Bill.
Well, you know, we need the size.
We know the Flyers, under Keith Jones especially, want a big defense. This does provide that. Oliver Bonk is not small. He's 6'2". He's coming. Now you have Jiricek. He's 6'4". This maybe eases some of their concerns about how small the defense is looking for the future, because now you've theoretically got the right side of your defense locked in place in terms of having Drysdale, Bonk, and Jiricek. These are all guys under 25. These are all guys who were taken in the first round with pedigree, with skill. And now you have 2 of the 3 being bigger guys, Jiricek being legitimately big. So I'm sure that played a role in why they were excited about making this move.
I know we only have Charlie for a few more minutes, so I'm going to get this in, and then we'll eventually break when you go to leave, Charlie. But this is something I found kind of cool about what Danny Briere has done in terms of like acquiring NHL or borderline NHL talent. In the biggest moves he has made, he has acquired Trevor Zegras, Jamie Drysdale, and now David Jiricek, guys who went 9th, 6th, and 6th in their drafts since 2019. He's obviously drafted Michkov and Martone in the top 10 at 7 and 6. Yeah. The Flyers, and this could change in the next 45 or so minutes, currently have 8 guys drafted in the top 10. Now, one of them is Coots. That was in 2011. One's Rizzo. Owen Tippett, we'll see if he's still around, but he was a 10th overall pick. But Zegras, Drysdale, Jiricek, Michkov, Martone, we have talked like a lot of people that are pro-tank. It's just like, well, this is where the talent is, in the top 10, at the top of the draft. You need these guys. They have made a concerted effort to get a bunch of dudes all around the same age who, even if they didn't draft them, they acquired them and they have that upside because they were drafted in the top 10. They were supposed to be one of the best players in their year.
Yeah, well, they know they need talent. I think that's the key thing. And David Jiricek is a talented guy. He's got size, yes, but the thing that's exciting about him, which is what got him drafted in the top 10, are his puck skills. He does have legitimate puck skills. He can pass. He's got a bomb of a shot. Like, this guy has skills. This is not a plotter. The comparison that came up as he was developing, and I don't think that he's going to become this good, because if he was, he probably would be already. But the big name that got named a lot was Evan Bouchard, where Bouchard has the big shot from the point. He has the puck skills. Skating's a weakness, and he does make big mistakes sometimes. That's why Oilers fans get frustrated with him. But at the end of the day, he's got a ton of points, and he's a game changer. He's a play driver. That's the hope, like the pie in the sky hope for Jiricek. One thing I like about this too, the timing of it. There was a point where, there was talks about, last year when Jiricek was available. Well, do you really want him? One of the things I hesitated about it was, do they really have the coaching bandwidth to be dealing with 2 reclamation projects on defense at once? You've got Drysdale, and now you're going to add another guy who's going to need a lot of coaching focus to get the most out of him. Drysdale, I still think Drysdale has more ceiling, but I think he's now at the point where he's no longer a reclamation project. He is now a quality NHL defenseman.
He is a building on what he has done kind of guy.
Yes.
And now it is, okay, here's
we got another one.
Here's a new project for you in David Jiricek.
The one thing that's going to be interesting, though, is Bradshaw was real good at that. He's not here anymore. Can Todd Reirden do that too? I've liked what I've seen from Todd Reirden as a coach, as a defensive coach thus far. He certainly has done nothing to halt Drysdale's upward trajectory, and that was a concern of mine. But we haven't seen him, at least up close, develop young guys in this sense of a reclamation project sense. I'm curious to see if he can do it. They're going to entrust him with the job.
We have over 1,300 people watching us live right now. That is absolutely nuts. Just jumped to 1,325. A whole bunch of likes already. But we want more. Give us some more freaking likes. And as we now prepare for our first break, we bid Charlie adieu. Charlie is headed to the Flyers training center. Danny Briere will speak at or around 3:00, and he'll report back to us in some fashion after that.
I absolutely plan to call in at some point, but it's all very contingent upon when Danny talks, when I get there, things like that.
We will continue our live reaction to the NHL trade deadline now about 40 minutes from the 3 p.m. deadline. We got to take our first break. Spring is back, and you know what that means. It means Rita's is back. That's right. It's the sweet sound of Rita's season, and all your favorite frozen treats are back and better than ever. Nothing hits like that first refreshing Italian ice of the season, or maybe you're a frozen custard person. Smooth, creamy, perfect every time. And if you really want to do it right, you gotta go with a gelati, layered just the way you love it. Sun's out, flavors are popping, and it's officially treat yourself weather. And do not forget, download the Rita's app. New app users get a free small gelati, ice, or custard with their first purchase. That's free happiness waiting for you. So come on into Rita's and make this season the sweetest one yet with ice, custard, and happiness. Treat yourself to a scoop of happiness today. Be cool. Go to Rita's. Learn more at ritasIce.com. And of course, let's go Flyers. Let me tell you about a local business that's helping Philly homeowners and businesses stay pest-free. It's Evans Pest Control. This isn't some giant national chain. They're a family-owned, community-focused pest control company right here in the Philly area, and they've been earning the trust of our neighborhoods for years. Evans Pest Control uses state-of-the-art equipment, safe and effective treatment options, and their techs go through continuous training so they're equipped to handle anything. Rodents, insects, termites, and even bed bugs. They offer priority services and consultations, which is huge when you have a problem with pests. Everyone in Philly knows pests don't knock, they just show up. So if you see signs of pests or just want to prevent them before they start, reach out to Evans Pest Control. Visit evanspestmgmt.com to schedule your free consultation. That's Evans Pest Control at evanspestmgmt.com. Kick those pests out with Evans. All right, welcome back. This is the PHLY Flyers Trade Deadline special. We are here in the Xfinity Lounge. Bill Matz, Steve Jaco, getting you till 4 p.m. today. A nice extended show for all of our viewers. Thank you all for joining. Love how many people are here live. We'll get back into the Flyers in just a second, Steve. We are still awaiting any sort of update on Rasmus Ristolainen.
Please.
The Flyers have made a few trades thus far, sending Brink to Minnesota, sending Deslauriers to Carolina, the Hurricanes, not the Panthers. And they've made an AHL swap with the Bruins. It would be more interesting.
I mean, you don't see a lot of cross-sport trades. I think it should happen more often. I mean, Bo knew how to play both sports. You had Deion Sanders. Why aren't there more people crossing over from the NHL to the NFL? Let's make it happen.
It's a great question, Steve. You did show me a few minutes ago Brayden Schenn coming back to the Metro. I guess it probably wasn't even called the Metro when he was here. Coming back to whatever
for the last year or two he was here. Yeah.
Coming back to the East Coast is Brayden Schenn. He is now a member of the New York Islanders. So that's kind of interesting.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know how much he has left in the tank at this point, but experienced guy at this point. He was the captain for the Blues, which is wild to think about from a Flyers perspective, especially two guys who have been watching as long as we have. And we always liked Brayden Schenn. I don't know if I ever thought of him as like the captain of a team and a Stanley Cup winner, but he's been both of those things with the Blues. So I would wish him well with the Islanders, but I never wish anything well to the New York Islanders. So have fun. Sure.
There is some news here. Yeah. Elmer Soderblom has been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins from Detroit.
I know
that's
is.
it.
Yeah,
He's
I totally know that.
That's something. He's 6'8", 252 pounds, right winger, so that's kind of cool.
Sure.
But I'm just trying to find some updates on Risto here and not seeing much of anything.
Can we talk a little bit more about Deslauriers? Because
yes.
What a loss this is for you in particular, Bill.
Well,
because they don't have anybody else who can really smash people real good.
Well, we did see yesterday that the Flyers converted Phantoms captain Garrett Wilson. His contract was AHL only. They signed him to an NHL deal that will expire on July 1st, so it's not like it kills them long term or anything. It is another it is another contract towards the 50 contract limit. But I I love guys like Nic Deslauriers. I'm glad he's going to at least get to be a part of a team that could potentially go to an Eastern Conference final or deeper.
I want to see Nic Deslauriers play in a Stanley Cup final game so bad.
That would be really funny, quite honestly.
Really funny.
He's out there against the Avs or the Wild or the Stars. That would be something interesting. But just looking at what the Flyers have done, they have moved out Bobby Brink. They bring in a defenseman who could potentially be really good for this team. We'll see how the development, if he's able to recapture the trajectory he was on his first couple of years as a pro. He is now, Jiricek is now on his third organization since being drafted 6th overall in 2022. Perhaps he just needs a little bit of just a steady location. He's bounced back and forth the last couple of years between the NHL and AHL. Not a ton of playing time when he does get in the NHL. Maybe now, especially if Rizzo is moved, there will be a spot in the starting 6 for the Flyers D, and he can really start to get on that path, like Charlie said, that Jamie Drysdale was on.
Well, these are all just good rebuild moves right here for the Flyers. And I know people don't like using that word around here, but you know what? It is what it is. And you have to clear roster spots. You have to see what these young guys have. So not having Bobby Brink in there, that opens up a spot for Matvei Michkov to maybe move over to the right wing again, which is where he's more comfortable. Alex Bump could potentially come up, and we could see what he has at the NHL level. Seeing what Denver Barkey has at the NHL level has been great for this team. You know, he hasn't been amazing, but like he's been rock solid most nights, especially for a guy his age, at his size. There were a lot of concerns that he'd be able to hang at the NHL level, and he's been really good on that. And then Deslauriers, that opens up a spot too. So just opening up those spots for guys to go. There's a lot of talk about Carl Grundstrom maybe getting traded at this point. I like Carl Grundstrom, but again, that's a spot where you can move a young guy up, see what he has, see if he's an actual NHLer. And then going back to Jiricek, you know, Jiricek, I guess the biggest thing is, I talked about this before, but the lack of defensive depth in this organization right now, because who's their top defensive prospect? I mean, it's
Oliver Bonk, and then like Hunter McDonald and Ty Murchison, who are out for the year.
And then it's
Bonk, a first rounder, but I don't know if anyone would say like, oh, these are A-tier prospects.
I would say Amico's their number 2
defensive
prospect before Jiricek. Jiricek then becomes number 1.
He's their number 1 prospect just based on pedigree and upside and having actually played in the NHL before.
Yeah. So Jiricek becomes the number 1 prospect. Then that bumps Bonk. Well, that's fun to say right there. Bumps Bonk down to number 2. And that's not like a far fall right there. I think we all still have pretty good expectations for Oliver Bonk. And I would love to see a roster competition for next season to see which one of those guys can make the team. And that's the kind of stuff you want to see. You want to see competition. You want to see guys like trying their all to get the roster spot. It worked out really well in this last camp where Grabenkin showed that he was more NHL ready than Bump and Barkey and all those guys. And, Grabenkin, while he hasn't been great, Grabenkin at least has been I think a pretty decent.
I think he's on pace to show he's an NHL player.
Yeah.
Where in a lineup, he still has a long way to go to be like, oh, he's a top 6 forward. Maybe he never gets there. That's the most likely outcome, but he does look like he can play in the NHL. Now, speaking of,
I just saw the return for Brayden Schenn. Per Darren Drager, it's a first, a third, and a prospect.
Not bad. Not a bad return.
I don't know if I'm giving up a first for Brayden Schenn in the year of our Lord 2026, but that's just me.
I will say, like the Eastern Conference, there's 2 good teams. And then a whole bunch of teams we don't really know how good they actually are. And the Islanders are one of them. Loading up, I don't think, is crazy for any of these other Eastern Conference teams, because if there's one upset in the divisional rounds of the playoffs, suddenly it's wide open. So I don't think that's too crazy. Now,
Schenn on the season, 28 points in 61 games played, 12 goals, 16 assists, but the Blues are very bad.
They're terrible.
So I guess the Islanders are kind of banking on just like, number 1, you're getting those intangibles, right? You're getting a Stanley Cup winner. You're getting a captain, so he's got the leadership qualities. And we also know Brayden Schenn can be useful in the power play from long, long ago when the Flyers power play was pretty okay back in the Joe Mullen days, which is almost a decade ago now, which is wild to think about. But you know what? Hey, I would love to be in the position where I'm just giving up first rounders like candy at Halloween just to see what we can get, because
remember those old
were
days?
much better days.
Yeah. There was like, we could really stand to have some homegrown talent here, but also going for it's fun.
It is fun. It's much more fun.
Now, we still have about a half hour till the deadline officially hits at 3 p.m. Eastern, Steve. Looking back on Danny Briere's past deadlines, 24 and 25, this is a guy who, he made the marginal moves, like Wade Allison in Nashville, bringing in Eric Johnson because we're out of defenseman, trading Eric Johnson the next year, flipping Andrei Kuzmenko after the Frost Farabee trade. But he's also gotten his price at each deadline for his top piece. Sean Walker, they get that first. They have to massage it, but they get their first round pick in 24. They retain on Lawton. But they get Grebenkin and a first for him a year ago. Is David Jiricek and a 7th in 2027 that may or may not even transfer enough? Or is this, if they're unable to move Risto, like a disaster? Is it just disappointing? Like, how would you... I don't know if I'm willing to say disaster, because you do still have the possibility of you can move him at the draft. I said this last night to Kelly in pregame. You know how we acquired Rasmus Ristolainen? On an expiring contract on draft day. Perhaps if the price isn't able to be met now, it's, hey, in the back half of the first round, Flyers want to get back in, 22 or whatever. Here we go. Here, Rasmus. And suddenly we have another first-round pick. I suppose that's still a possibility. You have all the way up until a year from today, the next deadline, to move him, technically.
Yeah.
But the injury history,
It's worrisome. I mean, we were all terrified when he played in that last game that he was going to be hurt, and really worth it to have him in there for that 3-0 shutout. Just awesome stuff right there. But yeah, it's scary to think that he could get hurt and you might get nothing for him. I wouldn't call this a disaster if he doesn't trade him, but I would call it deeply disappointing, because it seems like the conditions are primed to get a good return for him. You look at some of these other returns around the league for defensive depth, and there are some damn good returns out there. So you want Danny Briere to not miss out on this party right here just because he's being too stubborn about a player who's in his early 30s, is injury prone, and also makes a decent chunk of change right there against the cap.
I do think getting a Jiricek level prospect, while nowhere near a sure thing, and obviously his stock has fallen enough that Minnesota, after giving up first, second, third, and fourth round picks 18 months ago, is like, Bobby Brink, good third liner. We're making a cup run here. Take him. Like, his stock has fallen far enough that you can't say, sure thing, he's going to be a top 4 guy scoring power play goals for us with that big shot. It does offset it a little bit for me, because I thought Bobby Brink, all right, we drafted him in the second. If we can get a second and that clears a spot for Bump to come up or for Michkov to move over back to the right, that's good. We do need to start clearing roster space so that whenever we get these big talented players that we're told we're going to get, there's a place for them to go. They have to play somewhere. The roster has been set for 2 years now. That would have been okay. The fact that they got more than I expected for Brink offsets it a little for me.
I see that as a win, to be honest.
This is a win of a move.
To be the Hulk in Endgame, I see this as an absolute win right here. That is a win. And look, I like Bobby Brink. We all like Bobby Brink, but he's just not a player that you ever saw in your top 6, really, for this team. He just wasn't that kind of guy, and we all like him. It's just like what I always say with Ryan Poehling. Every team in the league wants Ryan Poehling, but if you get a chance to trade Ryan Poehling for Trevor Zegras, you gotta do it. And look, David Jiricek is not Trevor Zegras. We don't even know what David Jiricek is, but he is a guy with high upside at a position where the Flyers need depth. The Flyers, it's interesting on the defense because most of the guys on their defense are not terribly old. Nick Sealers, I think, in his early 30s at this point. Sanheim is right on that precipice, right? Right around 29, 30, I think.
Sanheim is younger than I think, but
because
not.
He's been here forever.
Yeah.
He's like Sean Couturier. You would think from how long we've been watching Sean Couturier
Sanheim
play
turns
hockey,
30 in a couple of weeks.
Okay. You would think from watching Sean Couturier play hockey for as long as we have that he'd be 60 years old.
Yeah.
But no, he's way younger than me.
He's like cool. 32. It just feels like he's 100.
It feels like he's 100 years old. And it's the same thing with Sanheim. We've been watching Sanheim and Konechny so long, and those guys aren't even 30 yet. So but the thing is, like, you've got York, you've got Drysdale, you've got Andre. You have some young guys in the mix here, but you do need more depth in the minors because, as we talked about, you got Bonk, and you have, I already forgot the guy's name, Amico, right?
Yeah, Carter Amico.
Amico's years away.
And that's a real project.
That's a real project. Years away, that guy is. Bonk is hopefully going to be ready in the next year or two. I would love to see, well, I think at this point, if they do trade Ristolainen, and I feel like with Jiricek and Bonk on the way, you have to get rid of Ristolainen at some point in the next year. That will create some roster competition. Hopefully it's a nice, spicy competition. The best man wins, and somebody's got to toil away in the AHL for another year. But this is stuff the Flyers need. They need to replenish the pipeline in that area. They were wing heavy. They need defense. I see this trade as a very good one.
And before we get to our next break, Steve, I just want to, coming back to Bobby Brink, you made the point everyone would want a Bobby Brink, and that's true. And I like the way he has rounded out his game when he first comes in from the NCAA. It's like, this guy is a half wall, all offense. We'll see if he can figure out a role in the NHL. And he did that. And then it was all right, can he get the offense to a level where he shows he can be a core piece? I like that they gave him the opportunity. He had that 2-year little bridge deal, $1.5 million. That's expiring this summer. He turns 25 on July 8th. He is a prime age player who has shown himself to be a good half a point a game. Maybe he has 50-point upside third liner. But at this point in his career, it doesn't feel like he's going to be anything more than that. And while that's a necessary piece, you need to start making upside plays to see if we can get this team from, they're borderline. They're okay. They're not a bad team. They're not terrible, despite whatever the hell happened last night. One of the worst games I've ever watched in my life.
I was never so happy that Kelly took a shift as I was last night.
But we have to start making upside plays for, he's a nice player, but if you can't find another Bobby Brink somewhere in this system, that's a whole other problem.
Yeah, and you're already looking at a situation next season where you're going to have to play somebody lower than you might think they need to, because they do have some good wings. I mean, between Tippett, you've got Forster.
Coming back. That's another thing to remember. It looks like Zegras is just a winger at this point. Maybe they convert him to center at some other time. He puts on a little muscle. He works on his face-off game. But right now, that's a thing we weren't necessarily, as fans, counting on when they acquired Zegras. And suddenly it's, oh no, we need to now account for, we have another top 6 winger. Forster, Michkov, Konechny isn't going anywhere. Martone, Tippett, that's 5 out of 6 right there.
And they've been playing Barkey higher than you maybe think.
Yes,
he's been more of a second-line role so far. So, there's a lot of mouths to feed over there at the wing. So somebody had to go. Somebody else is going to have to go at some point, too, because you only have so much contract space. So this was the first domino, and this might be a longer process than we want it to be. And I'm sure we will talk about, because we have a lot of time to talk about, where Ristolainen fits in all of that and the defense and all that. But as far as offense goes, you did have to make a move at some point. So you might as well get a guy with high upside that has a real potential future with this franchise.
All right, on the other side, we will continue Risto Watch. There will be about 15 minutes when we come back until the deadline. Maybe Danny can get a deal done. We will be with you live leading up to and through the deadline. Stay tuned. We got to take our second break. It's time to tell you about Togo. Do we really want Matvei Michkov playing goalie? No, because it's not worth the risk, time, or money. It doesn't make sense. You want to keep your stars focused on what they do best, and the same applies for your business. For small and mid-sized businesses, competing with bigger companies isn't about just working harder. It's about working smarter. With competition heating up, you can't afford to fall behind, and AI goes way beyond ChatGPT. It gets overwhelming fast. That's why having a trusted guide like Togo matters. Togo streamlines your operations by handling customer service, accounting, order management, logistics, admin, data entry, and even complex multi-step processes without the cost of building it all in-house. And every engagement with Togo starts with free process mapping, and Togo doesn't bill a dime until the real work begins, with programs starting as low as $1,000 a month and that are built to scale without breaking the bank. Visit harnesstogo.com and mention PHLY for an operational assessment. All right, let's talk about staying in the game. If pain is slowing you down, knee, shoulder, back, whatever it is, you don't have to just deal with it, because the team at Rothman Orthopedics has you covered. They've been recognized as the #1 physician practice in the country by Castle Connolly for having the most top doctors in orthopedic care. That's elite expertise, trusted nationwide. Getting started is easy. Head to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and schedule your appointment today. And if you don't know what type of specialist you need to schedule with, use their fast scheduler program to quickly connect with their VIP scheduling team to get you set up with the appropriate specialist for your injury. And with Rothman Now, you can get immediate access to orthopedic expert guidance when you need it. At Rothman Orthopedics, your mobility is their mission. Book today at rothmanortho.com/PHLY and get back to doing what you love and doing it pain-free. All right, welcome back. We are about 18 minutes until, 17 minutes until the NHL trade deadline hits at 3 p.m. Eastern, and still nothing much leaked here on Risto. The thing I'll say is, we didn't hear a whole lot about, Bobby Brink, especially as it relates to, a 1-for-1 trade with Minnesota. We heard earlier in the week Tampa was interested, but what would the return potentially be? Danny Briere does like to work under the cover of darkness quite often. He surprises us, so maybe in these final 15 minutes we will get word that, we got our price. I do want to get back to have the lineup as it stands now, and maybe what we'll see out of Mish, but
I got a question for you, Bill. So how do you feel about Briere playing hardball in this situation? Because it seems very much, based on the reports that have been leaking out, that Briere has a price here, and he is just going to he's towing the line. Like, he is saying, you are going to pay this or you're not getting this guy. So it's clearly a negotiation tactic, and he's very good at not leaking stuff he doesn't want to leak. So how do you feel about this, though, given the status of Rasmus Ristolainen and everything we've said about him to this point?
I do think it is important as a general manager to not be known as the guy who will cave in. It's a game of chicken, and the last two deadlines, even though it took a year later for Lawton, he eventually was like, no, this is the price. And he's also shown the willingness to, this is my price, but also we can work to get there. So it's like in net value, however, you value a pick, points, like the point system in the NFL or whatever. Maybe it's not net value of first, but we got that headline thing, so we can say we got it, willing to retain, willing to take back a bad contract, whatever it might be. I think it's important not to be known as that guy. But for me personally, okay, you've proven that because you've done it the last 2 years. Now you're looking at it like, all right, we got Jiricek. Bonk is hopefully here at the end of the season, if not to start next season. There's your three right side guys with Jamie Drysdale. Sanheim probably not going anywhere. I doubt York has moved this offseason or anything, but crazier things have happened. But you look at that, all right, and our Sealer under contract. Well, those are our 6 defensemen right there. It's just time to start moving guys. I know with a piece you find this valuable, you don't want to just give them away a la Nic Deslauriers. A 7th next year, maybe. Because that's, who cares? He's on an expiring contract. He's our 13th forward, whatever. But I feel this year might be the year to kind of go 2 seconds, good enough,
So a little update. Bruce Garrioch just tweeted, sounds like the Detroit Red Wings have emerged as the front runner for St. Louis Blues defenseman Justin Falk with 17 minutes to go. So Detroit was one of the big names out there interested in Risto. So Falk, if they go with Falk, that means there's not really that many teams. I know Montreal was in the mix. I heard Boston was in the mix. Those were the main 2 other teams I really heard, because Buffalo went and acquired Luke Schenn, who's also about 1 million years old. But, we'll see. I mean, this is a real, this could also, so much of this is playing the game through the media and saying like, well, Danny Briere, I don't know, Justin Falk is the interesting thing here. So is this a ploy? I don't know, but it's interesting.
When you see the prices for the guys who have been moved, both defensemen and forward to this point, Steve, is it a little surprising to you no one stepped up for Risto?
It's a little surprising. I do understand the hesitance over Risto because of the injury history. Like, it makes me hesitant, and I have to watch him all the time. But the injury history, and maybe just like the fact that a few years ago, the guy was kind of known as hot garbage throughout the league and is only now being known as a solid defenseman. But he also was great in the Olympics, and we know how much hockey men love that Olympic performance. So I'm a little surprised that maybe they're biting on some of these like lesser options for the prices they're paying. But I don't know. It sounds like Briere wants a lot.
If the injury history is like the main sticking point for teams that are like, yeah, overall talent of player. Like if I am Colorado, if I'm one of the top 3 teams in the Central, if I'm Carolina, if I'm Tampa, sure. I think it's worth it because we already have guys that are ahead of him. We're not like going to be depending on this guy, but if he is healthy in the playoffs, that could be huge for us. Otherwise, like these other teams like Detroit, man, this is your first bite at the apple. You're really going all in on Rasmus Ristolainen. Like that, I can fully understand a Buffalo, a Detroit, these teams that are like, yeah, we really want to make it. We could really use a run. It's been a long time for us, but also, damn, man, this is I'm going to waste these assets on this. Like a year from now, we might be in the exact same spot. Yeah. We're going to have less ammo. We're going to have unloaded assets. And now it's suddenly like, okay, we got to get another Risto level player for the same price. I can see it holding back a lot of all the top 5 teams in the league, basically. I can see that being the main sticking point of, I don't know, and then he gets hurt the day after we acquire him. And listen, it's a contact sport. Guys who've never missed a game can get hurt.
So tweet from Anthony DiMarco. I'm told the Flyers are not moving Rasmus Ristolainen. They did not get their price. Again, we do have 12 minutes left, so I don't know, but it's not looking good, folks. It's not looking good out there.
I just saw that 38 seconds ago from Anthony DiMarco. Man.
It's just like, is he playing too much hardball here? Because, like, I don't know if you're getting a better price for a guy with a year left on his contract. That is, how old is Ristolainen at this point?
I believe he's 31.
Yeah. But I don't know. He plays a big, tough game that doesn't age well necessarily.
Risto is 31. He'll turn 32 at the beginning of next season. So you're getting a not old guy,
but not a young guy.
800 career NHL games, never played in the playoffs. I do wonder if that's part of it as well. Like, we did just see him play well in the Olympics for Finland. I mean, how many times have we heard brought up? And not just like on Flyers broadcasts. Like, I've heard it on like the Marek show and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh man, he had those like 1 or 2 plays against McDavid, like those things being spotlighted. But he's never played in big games before simply because of the teams he's played on, Buffalo and Philly, throughout the course of his career. He's never sniffed the playoffs. I wonder if that's factoring in as well. Like, all right, we have an injury-prone guy who's never played in the playoffs. Again, yeah, overall talent level of player, maybe I'd be willing to meet the price, but do I really want to if... Like, do I really want to if I'm not exactly sure what I'm getting health and playoff performance-wise?
Like, if they come and, honestly, I would have just taken first. I probably would have taken a second, to be honest with you. I don't really know. I know he is highly valued in the front office. Keith Jones, in particular, is kind of infamous for his love of Ristolainen. So I'm sure that all plays a factor in there. He sure looked like a guy when they showed the pregame footage of him yesterday. He looked like a guy who was getting traded. So I'm very surprised. Again, we talked about this a few minutes ago, and I would say it's not a disaster because I still think they made some good moves today. Moving Deslauriers for literally anything, even the potential 7th-round pick is good, but it's very disappointing. Like, I'm highly disappointed in this. I wanted to see him moved. Again, I'm worried that he won't be able to be moved during the offseason. also you have to worry that maybe the franchise really likes him, and maybe they want to re-up on that Risto train. Maybe they want to keep riding that Risto train to the end of the line.
I think it was a DiMarco piece. I could be wrong about that. Rizzo is extension eligible on July 1st, but I did hear they are not interested in extending him beyond 2027. I think it was in a DiMarco piece. Might have been something else if I'm wrong. But I'm not so much worried about that because, as we just said, they've got the right side filled now for the foreseeable future, and the hope has to turn into, if this DiMarco report is true and they're not going to get their price, and it's not just the front office being like, I guess we're not getting him, he's off the market. Like maybe that's it. If he's not moved in the next 8 minutes, maybe now we have to hope he's moved at the trade deadline or on July 1st or at the draft or on July 1st, because I really don't want to go into camp with Rasmus Ristolainen. And that's as big of a bummer as this is, and like I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, great job, Briere." When
I'm not happy.
No, like I'm
not at all.
Very disappointed if they aren't able to pull off a trade, which all reports indicate they're not going to be able to. But the possibility still exists. Now, among that possibility as well, he plays 20 minutes a night for the Flyers. There are 21 games remaining. That is 420 minutes of hockey. That's a lot of time for him to get hurt between now and the final game of the season. I think it's on April 14th.
It is a lot of time to get hurt, and it's also a lot of time. Like, he didn't look great in that game last night either. I think playing him last night was a mistake. But I don't know, man. It's one of those things where it's not the end of the world, but it sucks. Like, I want to see him traded. I'm over. We've talked about this on a lot of post games, but I'm so over talking about all the trade speculation with him. I've been over it since they traded for him in the first place, but it's only gotten worse from there. I feel like all we talk about right now is Rasmus Ristolainen getting traded, playing bigger than he, or not, he's big, so he actually plays smaller than he is, and that's the problem sometimes. But he's just the guy that, like, for all this talk, he's a second-pair defenseman at best. And why are we spending this much time talking about him? He's not even a top-pair guy.
No, and that's one of the things that I think contributed for me. Like, even if you think this team, even if you're most optimistic of evaluators of this Philadelphia Flyers team, like, they could get back in this. Like, I don't think so. Did you see how they played last night? Like, chance to go on their first 4-game winning streak since February of 2024, and they play maybe their worst game of the season. Even if you think they can get back in this thing in the final 21 games, this team was pretty good without Rasmus Ristolainen. He misses the first 31. He misses a few after he comes back, 5 or 6 games. They were pretty good without him. I'm a little disappointed. I'm also a little disappointed you couldn't, like, if you weren't going to move Risto, create a little more room. Like, try to do the exact same thing you did with D'Lo, maybe a little more because he's a physical right-shooting defenseman, with a Noah Juleson, a Carl Grundstrom, stuff like that.
The fact that we're going to have both Ristolainen and Juleson for the rest of the season, because, like, Juleson's brutal to watch most nights. And he's okay, but, like, he's a guy that you want as your guy in the press box who eats those Flyer-shaped pretzels and comes in occasionally. You don't want him out there every night, as Rick Tocchet tends to use him. So it's just, I would have had to watch him every night if Ristolainen was traded, but I was willing to deal with that if there was a good return. So, you know, I know a lot of people are going to treat this like it's the end of the world. It is not the end of the world.
But it's also not good.
But it sucks. It sucks. It's a disappointment. They should have traded him. This was the time to do it. I'm very curious to see what Danny Briere's explanation. I know it's just going to be a bunch of hockey man like gobbledygook, but, like, ultimately, I don't know, man. It kind of sucks. And Kevin Kurz has said that the Flyers are done for the day, per a team source. Again, you never know. Maybe somebody calls them at the last minute.
And maybe there's another, like a Grundstrom's trade or something here in the final 4 minutes. All right, what I want to do is, so we are live with you as the time clicks over to 3 o'clock. I want to throw it to our break now, and we'll be back right before the actual deadline. Have you ever had one of those days where you're just moving nonstop and suddenly you realize you forgot to eat? Listen, it happens to me, and that's why I have been loving what Wawa is doing Wawa now has a $5 deal all day, and honestly, it just makes life so much easier. If you're starting early, you can grab the $5 big breakfast meal deal. We're talking a breakfast sizzly. We're talking a hash brown plus any size hot or iced coffee. That is a full morning win for just $5, available from 5 to 11 a.m. Then later in the day, the value keeps rolling with a roasted chicken sandwich or crispy chicken sandwich created your way, starting at $5. And they've even got new teriyaki recipes for a limited time. It's real food, real value, and built for busy days. No planning, no overthinking. Just swing in, grab what you need, and keep it moving. Start your day strong and fuel up wherever you need with Wawa's $5 deals. Limited time, exclusions apply. See Wawa.com for details. Gotta have a Wawa. Listen, we all know the feeling. You walk into a jewelry store, you're trying to pick out something special for your partner, and suddenly you realize you're in over your head. You're thinking, what's the difference between all these diamonds? What if they don't like it? Color, cut, clarity. All I know is I'm about to spend a bunch of money, and it's stressful. And that's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design has been such a game changer. From the moment you walk in, they treat you like family. There's no pressure, no pushy sales, just people who actually listen. They help you figure out exactly what your partner will love, and then they design a completely custom piece right there in-house. And right now, gold prices are over $5,000 an ounce. So if you've got old jewelry sitting around, Bucci's can help you sell it for cash, refurbish old pieces, or turn it into something brand new. 30 plus years in the game, Philly's #1 jeweler with over 1,000 five-star reviews. So whether you're buying new or turning old gold into something special, visit Bucci's Jewelry and Design at BucciJewelers.com and tell them PHLY sent you. All right, welcome back. We are just a few minutes away from the official NHL Trade Deadline. It does appear as if the Philadelphia Flyers are done. Pierre LeBrun just tweeted that Rasmus Ristolainen will be staying put, so barring insanity in the next minute and a half, Steve, it feels like Philly is done. They do move Bobby Brink for David Jiricek. They do move out Nic Deslauriers. They make an AHL swap, but the headliner, Rasmus Ristolainen, remains a Philadelphia Flyer. The
Flyers had a price and stuck to it, is what LeBrun said. And that seems to be the story of the day is, you know, they were having this garage sale and somebody wanted to buy that guitar and he just couldn't part with the guitar, ultimately.
The hope has to be now they're able to trade him at the draft or some point this summer for close to the price they were asking. This is a major disappointment.
I just can't see them getting a better price because the Olympic boost. The Olympic boost is, I think, everything here because he played great in the closest playoff scenario he could possibly have. It's not going to get better than that.
If he is able to finish out this season healthy and at least show like, hey, I played like whatever it'll be, like 45 games this year, maybe that's a step in the right direction to convincing teams that you'll have him available for the playoffs next season. I do think the $5.1 million, maybe a little bit of a sticking point. I am sure Danny would have been open to retaining if you did meet that reported price of first-round pick and prospect. They do have an open retention slot, having not retained on like Nic Deslauriers or anything else of that nature. How would you grade this deadline, Steve? I'm just looking at this as we have now, the clock has struck 0. It is 3 p.m. Eastern here. Now, as we always hear, trades can roll in because there's like a queue. I don't know, like the NHL fax machine gets backed up or something.
I love that they're still using the fax machine.
I think it's like an actual on the line queue now and not a fax machine.
Oh, okay. Like that was just a plot point on the pit because they had to pull a fax machine out, and all the young doctors are like, "What is that thing?"
If you are in queue with a completed trade prior to 3, so we always hear, trades can roll in, but it does appear as if the Flyers are done. This is...
Sorry, I'm laughing because this is non-Flyers laugh here. LeBrun said the Panthers are currently focused on trying to re-sign Sergei Bobrovsky.
I guess one more year. I mean, it's not going to be anywhere close to the $10 million he's currently making. One more year, get that team healthy, make some off-season ads, and take another run at it. They had a very injured season. They have played a ton of hockey over the last couple of years. Maybe they're gearing up to do that. They weren't able to move Bob at the deadline. It doesn't look like Toronto was able to move like Lawton, Bobby McMahon, or OEL. So
they were determined to get that first-round pick back for Lawton.
There are some teams, not just the Flyers, kind of stuck holding the bag. Like Toronto's been scratching those guys, and I'm told they like kind of approached Lawton about an extension, and they were pretty far apart. So we'll see what happens there, Steve.
What does Lawton want at this
point? Who the hell knows?
It's just stunning the priority. Like, it's so funny that we're talking about, like, well, you can only have until this point to make a trade. It's like, well, let's re-sign this 37-year-old goalie. Let's do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, even with retention at 50%, who the hell's taking on Bobrovsky not having a good year at $5 million? Like, yeah, Edmonton could use a goalie. They have like $200K in cap space though. So,
well, they've already made a hilariously bad trade for a goalie.
Well, yeah, it actually worked that the other guy is better. But it's just looking at what Briere did here. I will get to the super chats later in the show. A lot of disappointment. People comparing this to JVR. Now, the difference being JVR, an expiring contract that they weren't able to just like get a sixth for or something just to move. Like, this is a valuable asset that they wanted a first and maybe other stuff for. And he's got another year. You can still trade him this summer. I am hoping that happens.
That's the main thing.
I would say this is a C+ deadline. I would say C+ because I do like the potential of Jiricek. But the fact that they didn't make other marginal moves other than Deslauriers, the fact that they don't move Rizzo, I think you do have to grade strong against him, maybe even a C. But the potential of Jiricek, I do like. Opening up a spot on the wing, I do like. But man, people are gonna be mad until and hopefully when another shoe drops.
I mean, people are mad if Sean Couturier like stumbles on the ice. So I'm sure they're going to be furious that there was a disappointing day with Risto not getting traded. But yeah, I mean, it sucks. I think a C+ is appropriate because I do like that Brink for Jiricek move. And it's not a move you necessarily had to make, but you kind of did because at some point, as I said earlier, you have to move a wing. There's just too many mouths to feed at wing, especially with Martone hopefully coming next season, that you're going to have to move somebody out. So that makes a lot of sense. Replenish the defensive pipeline a little bit. But Risto, man, like this was just prime time to move him. I really hope he makes it to the offseason. If I'm playing devil's advocate and I'm saying something in defense of Danny Briere here, it's the fact that they did not have to trade Ristolainen. So he was very principled in sticking to his guns. He had his price. He stuck to it. It's frustrating. It's beyond frustrating to hear that, especially because I don't think he's getting a higher price for him in the offseason. But they still can trade him in the offseason. He's still got a year. They could trade him next deadline, as frustrating as that is to hear. But there are options. But if we're just focused on today, yeah, it sucks. We want him traded. I don't want to talk about him anymore. I'm exhausted.
And I think the other frustrating part is in years past, they've had multiple firsts. They only have their own first this year. Now, I'm expecting them to fall in the standings as we get through these final 21 games. How far? Last night when we do Tankathon, it's like they're sitting at 14th in the lottery order.
I think it was 14th. TSN earlier did a whole simulation. They didn't do a Tankathon. They actually had ping pong balls and everything that they pulled out, or lottery balls. And I think the Flyers were 14th there too.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see. Charlie will join us at some point, I believe, live once he is available. He is joining he's joining in 5 minutes. Okay.
Justin Falk trade per Darren Dreger, first and a third from Detroit for Justin Falk. So if you could have gotten a first and a third for Risto, I think you would have to do that, right?
Yeah. What is? I wonder what his contract status is. I don't know it offhand.
I got it. Gotcha.
So Bryn, should we? If he wants to join after Danny, what should we do here? He's almost ready, so let's just keep going here.
So I'm going to look up Justin Falk, and I'll look up his contract situation. So Justin Falk, 33-year-old right-handed defenseman, 6 foot 216, a little smaller than Risto over there. Looks like he is signed through 26-27 at $6.5 million AAV.
So makes more money than Risto.
We'll have to see if how much retention there is.
Yeah, we'll
and all
have to.
that,
I
but-
got to believe there's some sort of retention there. So we will see. But that is a last minute disappointment.
Yeah.
As someone goes for a first and a third, Danny's asking price might have been a little higher.
It sounded like he really wanted a warm body back.
Do you
in that
think
deal.
he misread this market?
I think
Or just
he
the interest in Rasmus Ristolainen? Do the Flyers overvalue Rasmus Ristolainen?
I think they overvalue Rasmus Ristolainen. I think that's what it really comes down to because the market is there. You look at the other names that were traded out there. You look at these names like Luke Schenn was traded. Luke Schenn has been playing forever. How long ago was that JVR for Luke Schenn straight up trade? So long.
I think I was still in college at the time.
I was definitely not, but some of the people listening probably weren't even born when that trade happened. So, it's just, I don't know. Ristolainen, it just felt like the perfect time. It felt like the opportunity. I think they overvalue him. They definitely overvalue him because he's just not, he's good, but this is a guy who a couple years ago, before Brad Shaw completely reworked his game, was hot garbage. I mean, he was whatever the opposite of a darling in the analytical community is, he was that.
He was the dumpster of the analytical community. All right, someone who isn't hot garbage. It is Philly's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, joining us on the Xfinity mobile call-in line from the Flyers training center. 3 p.m. has come and gone, Charlie. While there were some last-minute deals, Justin Falk gets done for a first and a third. Rasmus Ristolainen remains a Philadelphia Flyer. No trades get made by Danny Briere after the D'Lo deal.
Justin Hall also
How
in
we
that
feeling?
deal going to St. Louis.
Not great. I mean, this is a disappointment. It's a major disappointment because this did feel like a good time for them to cash in on Ristolainen, especially coming after the Olympics, especially given some of the prices. The Justin Falk trade is interesting to me, and this is something that we're going to certainly ask Danny when we talk to him in the next. Apparently, he's going to be available in like 15 to 20 minutes. But what I'm curious of is whether the Red Wings just preferred Justin Falk to Ristolainen, or if the Flyers were asking for more than that for Ristolainen. Because let me put it this way: if the Red Wings were willing to offer a first and a third for Ristolainen, and Briere said no, you got to give me a prospect too. Because my understanding of his asking price for Ristolainen was it was the Brandon Carlo ask. It was a first, it was a mid-round pick, and it was a prospect. If Briere was not willing to take a first and a third, and they just went and gave that to as a St. Louis Justin Falk, like that's a major, major mistake because a first and a third is a great return for Ristolainen. Now, if it turns out that the Red Wings just liked Falk better, then okay. I mean, it's still a bummer, but I guess I can understand it. If there was a first round pick on the table for Ristolainen and he didn't take it, that's malpractice in my opinion. I don't care what else was involved. You take that and run. If there wasn't a first on the table, then it's more just frustrating that no one else offered a first. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, Charlie. I am withholding my complete disappointment until he's got to get through these last 21 games healthy. Maybe there's a little load management down the stretch. Hey, we got to get a look at Jiricek. We got to get a look at Bonk. Maybe he's not in the lineup every night to help preserve him. That would be interesting. If they are able to move him, say, at the draft or sometime this summer, I think that negates some of my disappointment. But I don't have a crystal ball. Today is today. I am not happy about what we have seen. I am giving this, I said C+ at first. I'm going to move it to a C for Danny's grade at the deadline because I do like opening up the wing slot. I do like the potential of Jiricek, like taking that swing. But
I think seeing that Falk deal definitely.
Now seeing the Falk deal, I'm like, ooh, okay. How would you grade Danny? I know I'm just putting you on the spot here, but how would you say, I've liked his previous 2 trade deadlines. We looked at his history. He's gotten his price for his guy the last 2 years. Did not today. How you grading this one?
Yeah, I'm probably in that same realm, like C-. I do like the Brink deal. I think it makes sense for the team. I don't think it's a slam dunk. Oh my God, Danny robbed the guy, but I think it makes sense for the Flyers. I just think it made sense for the Flyers to trade Ristolainen. Look, the hope, I'm sure, on Danny Briere's part was that they were going to get a first-round pick offered. If they got a first-round pick offered and they still didn't get it done, that's a failure. Now, the more like I'm going to be critical, I'm not going to kill him, but I'm going to be critical is like I'm pretty sure that Buffalo would have given something pretty similar to what they gave to Winnipeg for Ristolainen. I know for a fact that Buffalo was in on Ristolainen. They ultimately gave up a second-round pick and Isaac Rosen for Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn. If that was on the table for Ristolainen and the Flyers said no, like that frustrates me because even though that's definitely not what they offered. Like that's not what the Flyers were asking for. That's lower than the ask. I don't know if you're going to get a better offer than that this summer or at the next deadline. Like that might have been the best it got. And if you pass that up and then it turns out that in the offseason you end up taking less, that's frustrating. Like I don't know if the offers are going to get any better. And then there's the big risk that you noted, like what if he gets hurt? He's gotten hurt the last 2 years. He's gotten hurt the last 2 years, like around this time of the year. This to me was the time there were teams interested. Now, maybe there weren't teams interested at their price, but there were teams interested. He held out. I guess if you want to spin this as positively as possible, like he proved that he's going to stick to his guns, that, you're not going to outweight him. And maybe that'll provide benefits, years down the road when he's in future negotiations and teams to be like, oh, you'll blink. And he'll be like, I didn't blink with Ristolainen. So you can trust that when I say this is my price, it's my price. Maybe that'll provide residual benefit down the road. But today, I think that, as I said from the jump, I would have taken a second-round pick as the centerpiece of a deal. Danny Briere obviously would not have. I think if he would have been willing to take a second-round pick as a centerpiece for the deal, Ristolainen would not be on the Flyers right now. He wasn't, so he still is, and that's the story. So inherently, I disagree that he's still on the disagree with the fact that he's still on the Flyers, because if I was taking the offers, I would have taken a second-round pick offer, and I suspect that was out there.
I know you got to go. Danny's going to speak a little bit. We will talk to you after that as well, Chuck. Are you surprised no team stepped up and met the price? Are you surprised it didn't happen? Like, is the injury history so much that, like, I got to say, unless I'm like the Avs or something, I'm a fan of that team. I'm like, no, we're not giving you all that for freaking Rasmus Ristolainen, but we know prices this time of year are nuts. Are you surprised it didn't happen?
I think I'm surprised that Detroit didn't, because they clearly, in the end, were willing to give up the first for somebody. They gave up the first. We knew that was the team that had the need. You knew that was the team that had the need. Big need on defense, big need right shot. I thought that if there was going to be a team that was going to cave, they were going to be the team that did. And they ultimately did. They ultimately gave up the first. They just picked another guy. I thought they would have liked Ristolainen more than Falk. Again, this is where you have to really dig into it. Like, if they were willing to give the Flyers that package and the Flyers still said no, then like that is a real fail on Danny Briere's part. If they never offered a first for Ristolainen, and that's obviously a question that's going to be asked to Danny Briere in a few minutes, then I just am surprised that Detroit didn't like Ristolainen more than Justin Falk, who was older and not nearly as physical.
And more expensive. All right, we will be joined again by Charlie O'Connor after Danny Briere speaks to the media today. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Over 1,300 people still watching as the deadline is coming gone. I want you to stick with us through this commercial break and hit that like button. Leave a comment. Let us know how you're feeling as we take our, our third break?
Sure. Who can count?
It's time to make your home work smarter, not harder. With a TrueMark Financial home equity line of credit, you can tap into your home's equity to handle renovations, upgrades, or whatever is next on your list. A TrueMark Financial HELOC Select gives you the flexibility to borrow when you need it on your timeline. You start with a revolving line of credit, use only what you need, and when you're ready, you can lock in all or part of your balance at a fixed rate for predictable payments. You only pay interest on what you use, and as you pay it back, that credit becomes available again. No reapplying, no extra steps. With competitive rates compared to most unsecured loans and flexible repayment options, this could be a smart move for your home and your wallet. Learn more at TrueMark Financial's home equity line of credit at TrueMark.com or stop by one of their 24 branch locations to get started. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. NMLS 404938. And remember, let's go Flyers. What if you could have intelligent and reliable Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 whole years? Well, that's Xfinity's 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together. Wi-Fi that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a 6th sense, and Wi-Fi that lets you stream the game even when the whole rest of the family's already online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And the best part, there's no annual contracts and no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment is, of course, included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger, but your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only, restrictions apply, and of course, let's go Flyers! All right, welcome back. There were a few deals, none Flyers related, that came in.
Why would there be?
That came in post-deadline. We were saying a few minutes ago, it doesn't look like the Leafs were able to trade any of the dudes they scratched. It does look like Scott Lawton is headed to the Kings and Bobby McMahon going to Seattle. The Justin Falk to Detroit thing came in pretty much last minute. Ryan Strome headed to Calgary. So there were moves that came in late. Guys, GMs in the queue who had to sit and wait their turn post 3 o'clock, but they are able to get some of these moves done. But the Flyers, they wrap up the day unless something we have no knowledge of comes through in the next few minutes, I guess. It's Brink for Jiricek. It's Deslauriers for maybe a 7th next year. We'll see. Yeah. And it's an AHL swap. Yeah, that's pretty much it here, Steve.
Yeah.
As we get to the final 40 minutes of our program today.
The Brink move ain't nothing, but it's not nearly as exciting as what they could have potentially gotten for Ristolainen.
Like if they get the Justin Falk deal, and granted, maybe it's not the price they wanted, a first, a mid-round pick, and a prospect. It's a huge deadline. Like, then you had a great deadline if they're able to get their price for Risto. Instead, you have a basically reclamation project defenseman with a ton of upside. Again, he was drafted 6th overall. He's on his 3rd organization. He has the big shot. His first couple years pro in the AHL, the production was really there. He's stagnated over the last 18 months. As Charlie said, there'll be an article up on allphly.com in the next day or so from Alex Appleyard, really breaking down Jiricek as a prospect and what has happened to him in the years since he was drafted. But you go from what could have been, the day starts well. You move on from Deslauriers, you move on from Brink and get a decent return there. You open up some spots on the wing. We're hoping to see an Alex Bump call up. What could have been a pretty exciting day turns into, damn, man, really? You couldn't even... I get not wanting to bend, like the price is the price, but there is an aspect of, this is a negotiation, man.
Yeah.
You have to say, this is what the market bore for us, and you have to take into account that, yeah, every team would love to add a right-handed 20-minute defenseman who's 6'2", or 6'4", over 200 pounds. The injury history, the lack of playoff experience, all that is on the con side. And you have to be willing to, I think, negotiate. Now, again, the draft in June, July 1st through the summer, if they're able to trade him and get some semblance of the price they're looking for, cool, great, love it.
Yeah.
But as of now, swing and a miss for Danny Briere, his first deadline.
Yeah, it's just a bummer, man. Like, it seemed like the perfect time to trade Ristolainen. You're not going to get a better time because I don't think he's ever been more valuable unless your name is Chuck Fletcher. Because Chuck Fletcher is the only guy who previously saw him and went, whoa, I got to trade a first-round pick for that guy ASAP. I still think, for just comedy's sake, but also for value, it's a missed opportunity not trading him to Buffalo and getting Eisen Rosen back. That would just been so funny to see the Flyers pick that they missed out on in that draft because they got Ristolainen getting back years later.
It would be funny.
But in general, like, just not getting that value, the big unknown in the offseason, I don't know that they're going to actually trade him in the offseason. Like, you assume they're going to, but you don't know what's going to happen you also just don't know how much, like, they seem to really value Ristolainen in a way that the rest of us look at him and go, are we watching the same guy?
Like, he's a nice player. He has turned himself into a nice player. But like I said, unless I'm one of these teams that's like championship or bust, I don't want to meet that price. And like, I wouldn't have wanted to meet the price for Logan Stanley or Justin Falk or any of these other guys either.
Logan Stanley and Luke Schenn,
sure, yeah.
Who's, like 85 years old. But,
yeah, I don't know if I would have wanted to meet the price either, but when you're in go for it mode, you want to you want to squeeze every drop out of your team because championship, like they say, flags fly forever. Yeah, that pick would be cool, but that banner up there, it's worth way more. Who cares about tomorrow if we have a parade today? I don't know if I would have been willing to meet like, if I'm a fan of the Buffalo Sabres, I'm like, I'm good.
Oh, I would have been furious.
I'm good on that.
I would have been furious if my team traded for Ristolainen and they traded a first plus for that. It would have been infuriating, but my team's the one who kept them. And I now have to watch him play defense for the rest of the year, and he'll be fine. But again, like, it's not, I want to give a chance to these young guys to have room to get into the lineup and grow. There's zero room for that right now because they're pretty much set on defense, especially with Ristolainen in there. And when Ristolainen comes out, Julesen's going in there. It's almost like no doubt about it.
That's the other minor disappointment for me is a Grundstrom, a Julesen. Like, not saying that would have changed the grade, but it would have at least opened up spots. I want to see guys come up, and I do wonder how they manage the roster here the rest of the way with 21 games to go. Travis Konechny has been banged up. We heard the other night he was, he misses yesterday's game. He is an option potentially for tomorrow. I wonder if you consider shutting him down at some point. I wonder if you consider shutting down a Risto in order to preserve. I don't think they're going to be trading TK, but just like, what's the point here?
Yeah.
Like Risto, you want to preserve that value because you got to trade him this summer.
Well,
you got to get other guys. I want to see Jiricek play in the NHL this year. I want to see Bump come up. I want to see other guys get opportunities.
If you're not playing for the playoffs, I want to see that stuff. And this is where the Rick Tocchet of it all is problematic for the Flyers at this stage, because Rick Tocchet is very much a win now kind of coach, which is what you've seen a lot with his treatment of Matvei Michkov throughout the season. Because, he's been treating Michkov with this, like, I want, to win games now, so I'm going to play Michkov 10 minutes this night because I don't think he's ready. Whereas, like, we want to see Michkov play like 16 plus because we know what he's capable of. And yeah, we know he's going to make mistakes because it's worth it to see the mistakes if he's going to make magic ultimately and be a good NHL player. We need to see him in the lineup. And this is what we need to see with these younger guys. I don't want to see Noah Julesen for the rest of the season, especially if they're not making the playoffs. I have no interest in seeing him. I have no interest in seeing Rasmus Ristolainen. I want to see what Jiricek has. I want to see what Oliver Bonk has. I want to see what Alex Bump has. There are some interesting names, and granted, they're not all the way there yet, but you got to get the young guys in there. And I just feel like Tocchet is going to keep marching Konechny out there. He's going to keep marching Ristolainen out there as long as they can win games. He just is not the kind of coach who is really thinking with that long-term attitude.
I will say in the 5 games out of the Olympic break, we have seen Matvei Michkov average 16.5 minutes per game. He played 18:30 a couple of nights ago in Toronto. There does seem to be a little bit of bend there now that, technically they're still in it, but, are they?
Yeah.
And to the Matvei Michkov of it all, that's the other thing I do like about the Brink deal is it opens up a wing spot, and not just a wing spot, a right wing spot. And we heard today from Jordan Hall that Cates and Michkov sticking together, but Barkey has joined them on that line now that Bobby Brink is gone.
I love that, Bill.
Barkey, a left winger. He is a left-handed left winger. And, Noah Cates, the center there, there's been developing chemistry, I would say, between he and Mish. It's taken a little bit, but I've liked what I've seen in most of recent games.
Yeah, you got smart players playing together. I know Mishkov's been pretty dumb this year at times, but he ultimately is a smart, gifted player. I love that he'll be together with Barkey, because every time he's played with Barkey, there has been this tenacity coming from Barkey's side that's really benefited Michkov, because Michkov, the biggest thing this season, and we've talked about this a bunch, is that he needs space to operate. What you always say, like the league took X amount of years to catch on to Claude Giroux and start boxing him out, where it took 1 year with Michkov. They have treated him completely different.
Just crowd him. And it's tough. And I do think Barkey, and the other thing is Barkey is, I wouldn't say like a dynamic two-way player at this point in his career. He's freaking 20 years old. No one's a dynamic two-way player unless their name's like Macklin Celebrini. He is, I think, mature beyond his experience level coming up in the London system and all that. Like, I have seen him erase so many mistakes of his line mates that you would expect him to be the one making mistakes. It's like, no, man, like Tippett or Cooch just turned it over and then he poke checked the guy and suddenly plays going the other way again. He does have that ability, and I think that can really help Michkov as hopefully he shifts back to the right wing, and in moving out both Brink and Nic Deslauriers, that opens up another wing spot. And we saw it was Kevin Kerr's tweet. He expects after today, because you have to be on the AHL roster today to be eligible for the Calder Cup playoffs. After today, he is expecting an Alex Bump call up at some point. That could be cool. That is an exciting thing to look forward to. He's, as Charlie said before he left, he has really started to round out his game in the AHL and get back on track after his injury. He was playing better at the time Barkey got called up, but Barkey was seen as ahead of him on the depth chart. Then he gets hurt, and it's like, all right, maybe we're not even going to see Bump this year, but it does appear as if we will see the long-awaited NHL debut of Alex Bump at some point in the near future, maybe as soon as Saturday. Who knows? If TK's out, they only have so many wingers.
They only have so many wingers. It's funny, like...
Good ones, at least.
Good ones, at least, right? I mean, I'm excited about Bump. I really liked what I saw out of him with his time with the Phantoms when he came up for the playoffs last year, where he really played with a chip on his shoulder there. He had some tenacity, he had some spark, and he really had some attitude in there, which I really liked about him. Good goal-scoring potential with him, good hockey sense, it seems. So, yeah, I'm excited to see Bump in there. I love what I've seen from Barkey. Barkey really was a guy we were not expecting to see this season, and he's come up and provided a spark in most of the games he's been in and just been really smart and good. So you got to get these young guys in there. We got to see what they have. We got to see if they're anything, and so we can move on, because with at least wing, you have irons in the fire. Now, the other positions, not so much. Like center, you've got a lot of projects, right? You've got, of course, Jet Luchenko, who we talk about quite a bit. And then Jack Nesbitt, of course, is a project who's years away, and that's going to be the big point of contention moving into the offseason. It doesn't look like Robert Thomas moved today, which was a big name that was available, so potential name available in the offseason.
The price for him was so much that I think you need like every team in the league in on it in order to get there. Like when there's only so many teams, because like half of them are out of it and they're sellers. Yeah. Like I that always felt to me like they weren't going to be able to get that in season for Robert Thomas. Maybe they can in the off season.
It's a shame we can't just send Risto in that team.
Yeah, that would be fun. No, go ahead.
But my favorite non-Flyers failure of the day was the Rangers didn't move Vincent Trocheck.
Really? Oh, wow, yeah.
Which is like, what are you doing? You're the worst team in the Eastern Conference right now.
You already sent out another letter.
Yeah, you sent out the letter. Come on, the letter. I did enjoy this quote from Bill Guerin, who was on ESPN and was talking to Emily Kaplan and said, "I thought winning gold with Chris Drury would have gotten me a little bit of a discount, but he wasn't in the mood."
That's funny. When you're Bill Guerin in his position, he makes the trade of the year for Quinn Hughes back.
A nice year for Bill Guerin.
When was that? That was like back in December, I think.
Yeah. You make the Quinn Hughes
you
move.
Make the Quinn Hughes gold medal. You get.
Well, he didn't get a medal, but his guys got the medal.
You get Bobby Brink. You make some other moves along the way. You can maybe be in more of a forthcoming and jokey mood. I am interested to hear from Charlie what Danny's demeanor is. He is a pretty even-keeled guy. Not quite the player who would just two-hand you because he felt like it back in his playing days. He's more of a even-keeled guy. He plays a lot of things close to the chest. I'm interested to see how forthright he is in what the offers were and if they turned down the first round pick, like we said. Like if it was a first and a third, like the Justin Falk trade, and it was like, yeah, but we wanted a first, a prospect, and a mid-round pick. Like you were never getting that, man. It's a negotiation. I want to know how close, if he's willing to divulge how close it got, because I really feel like we never heard much of anything in terms of teams that were like really far along in the negotiating process.
We heard about a team.
We heard more about players who had no trade clauses, and we had to wait to hear if the trade would go through based on them going thumbs up or thumbs down.
Which is not something you usually hear about.
No. Like we heard more about those than we did any potential Risto trade with like a specific team and a specific return. I wonder how far along they ever even got, because it kind of feels like they didn't get very, like there were never.
Like he put a sign up saying exactly what he wanted.
I mean, they played him last night, and they played him for 20 minutes.
Which is still wild to me. Like, if you've got a hot trade commodity, and like I know you want to showcase him, but he showcased himself enough at the Olympics. You don't need to put him out there anymore. So to have him out there in a game that, again, they sucked in that game. Like, it's so funny. If they had won that game, you could maybe justify it, right? They sucked.
I would at least like that one game. We talked about this with Charlie in post game last night. Like, listen, if they win, also who cares?
Yeah.
But like, I would at least be all right. Well, they're kind of in it, and I think Boston and the Islanders both lost last night, so it's like, we're getting close. There's still 21 games left. Like, all right, that shouldn't make up your mind because you know what this team is. But also, all right, I guess I can see it. Now it's you played your worst game. Like, if the team, we've always said. Like, they've always told us, the players will tell us when it's time. Well, if the players had any resounding message to the GM last night, it's, yo, bro, we ain't close. We haven't won 4 in a row since February of 2024. 4 games in a row. We're not asking for 10 here.
Is that good?
It's bad. It is, in fact, bad.
Oh, I thought it was good.
They are 0-7 or 0-8, Jim Jackson said, after winning 3 in a row in the last 2 years.
Oh, and then they just had the worst month of January that I can remember. It was just a horrific month of January for this team.
And that's the other piece of this. Like, their response last night, the way they played last night, as well as when we were breaking down the Christian Dvorak contract, and I am going to bring that up in a minute because I know it annoys you. Charlie's not here. I got to push somebody's buttons.
We got comments. Scott Lawton deal, by the way, is a 3rd rounder. So Scott Lawton to the Kings for a 3rd rounder. So Toronto did not get that 1st rounder back. So
expiring contract, 4C on a good team, a good one, a good penalty killer and everything, good in the faceoff.
Showed us, scored a shorthanded goal against us this year.
Absolutely, dangerous shorthanded. I forget what I was going to say. The response last night, and when we were breaking down the Dvorak deal, Charlie was like, I know everyone's negative on this. We don't love this contract. I can see the reasoning, but like, I don't love signing a 29-year-old to a 5-year deal.
No, not for this team.
Charlie was like, the one positive I'll say is, you know, it takes wind out of the room when you trade a Farabee and a Frost, when you sell at the deadline. Dvorak has fit in well. He's part of the social group of this team. He's been a good player. He's going to have a career year for them. You reward him with the contract. That contract was signed on January 5th. They go out the next day. They beat the Ducks. And after that, they win 3 of 16. The response to that and the response last night, Danny needs to see this and be like, we are nowhere close. Maybe I need to open up spots and change the dynamic of this team, be a little bit more willing to bend. Now, when he goes and gets a first and a good prospect at the draft for Risto, we're all going to look like a-holes. But like right at this very moment, man,
at this
it's rough.
moment, it sucks for sure. And so do we want to get into the Dvorak discussion right now? Because I'm game.
Yeah.
Because what else are we doing until we hear back on that? Because I really am curious about what Danny has to say. As you said, he is an even-keeled guy. He doesn't strike me as one of those guys who's what we call terminally online.
Yeah.
Who just like is looking way too much at what we're saying on the stuff. Like, don't listen to me. Come on, you guys can listen to me, but Danny Briere shouldn't listen to me.
There is a piece.
He went to business school. Come on.
There is a piece of it, like, you shouldn't be listening like, oh, well, the people are going to be upset, so I need to take 3/3 or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there is a piece of you need to do your job and do what's best, but, man, I just feel like what's best is opening up that spot for Jiricek or Bonk or McDonald or who the hell ever. Now, the Dvorak piece of this.
So let's talk about
Speaking
the
of prices.
So, speaking of prices, so there is a big question that people have, and I'll be honest, I was right there with you guys when they first signed him. Because when they signed Christian Dvorak, I look at that player, I look at that deal, and I say, that is a trade deadline signing. That is a guy that you signed to flip at the trade deadline. That was 100% my reaction when they made that signing. So I definitely was of that mindset. But I supported re-signing him for 3 years. And it kind of is
And when you look
deal.
at the structure of the trade protection, year 4, he has a short no trade list. Year 5, I think he has no protection.
But
so it's kind of a 3-year deal. It's like an NFL contract.
It's a lot like an NFL contract in that regard, and you can argue that about a couple of the contracts that Danny Briere has signed. So I think people have overreacted to the deal, but at the same time, like, centers were going for a premium price this year. Dvorak is a very competent two-way center. But the thing is, like, the argument that you can make for the deal is the fact that the Flyers need any warm bodies they can get at center because Sean Couturier is rapidly deteriorating before our eyes. That is like the end of Indiana Jones and the, we get with the Grail, right? And Sean Couturier is drank from the wrong Grail and he is just turning to dust before our eyes. And it sucks because we love Sean Couturier, but it is what it is on that front. So you do need a guy to eat up a lot of minutes. And it's very hard, as we're seeing at this deadline, to get top centers. Now, Christian Dvorak, you can definitely do better than Christian Dvorak, but this team right now, apparently they can't. And I like Christian Dvorak. He plays well with Trevor Zegras and Travis Konechny. He is pretty good on the penalty kill. Is he the best center I've ever seen? Absolutely not. But he can win some faceoffs. He's better than Noah Cates, who I like a lot. But Noah Cates is a guy that, like, if they brought in a guy to play center and bump Cates to, like, fourth line wing, I'd be fine with that. If Noah Cates is your fourth line center, I'm fine with that. Dvorak is very much a stopgap guy while they figure out this center situation. So I understand it a lot, but ultimately, like, I do understand the disappointment too with not trading him because that's more lottery balls, but that also pushes back your timeline even more because, and the timeline's not great already. A lot depends on how Martone looks on the team next year, because if Martone comes in and he looks like Celebrini or something like that. And I'm not saying Celebrini because that's clearly a very high ceiling.
Yeah, he's on like the freaking Crosby trajectory right now.
Yeah, Celebrini's unbelievable. He is so good. But if he even looks like, I don't know, if he looks really good, and I think there's a very real chance he could because he looks great in college and he was the captain on that juniors team. So Martone could be a big game changer for this team. That changes the timeline potentially. But Dvorak is such a weird part of it, but like he is a stopgap guy ultimately until they can figure out if they can get a more exciting name like, oh, I don't know, Austin Matthews or something like that. Not that the Leafs should ever make him available, but there are names that could potentially be available down the line if you make smart moves, but they're very, very difficult to get.
I just look at the prices for some of these centers, like Nick Watt of Colorado for a conditional first and a fifth. Nick Dowd to Vegas. He gets a third and a second and a 23-year-old AHL goalie. There's that wild Jason Dickinson trade to Edmonton that has retained salary, and Andrew Mangiapane and a top 12 protected first going back to Chicago.
Edmonton is having quite a year. As far as who's the GM on Edmonton again? Is it?
It's the dude from Chicago.
Oh, the guy from. Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I can't. I
Who can know?
remember.
Who can do the research on this? I certainly couldn't on this magical device.
It's the guy who won the Cups in Chicago. He's running things over there. But you see the prices for some of these centers, and it's like
we're of course talking about Stan Bowman.
Bowman.
It was on the tip of my tongue as well.
Course.
But hey, the magic device in my hand does that.
Not like a historic hockey family or anything.
No, nothing like that. But yeah, so Stan Bowman's having a terrible year between that deal with Pittsburgh where Dubas completely just annihilated him in that deal. Like just a horrendous deal. You trade a guy, and again, I know Skinner's not great, but you trade a guy who's been to 2 Stanley Cups for Tristan Jarry. Okay, great move, bro. Great job.
All right, so Danny has not started speaking yet. So if now with 20 minutes left in the show, if Charlie is unable to join us at the end, we will have an episode of the Shootout or a practice notes style VOD going up for you here on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. We still have a ton of people watching us live, over 1,000 with us. If you just joined us and haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. We'll really appreciate it. Make sure any new viewers, if you like what you see, man, we do this every day, 5 shows a week. So follow us here on the PHLY Sports YouTube page, and make sure you're checking out Flyperbole as well. Steve has
We're going to record a new one eventually. Ryan Quigley, please make yourself available to record a Flyperbole.
We need you here, Steve, so it's not the worst thing in the world. I like your opinions.
I can also only talk about the Flyers so much in a given week. It's tough because this team's depressing.
It's true. I want to get to, as it feels like we kind of seen what has transpired here. We're now 42 minutes past the 3 p.m. deadline. Before the season, Charlie, Kelly, and I made our preseason predictions just based on what we thought was going to happen this year. My cup winners, you can go ahead and put them up, Brenna. My cup winners, I had Vegas and Toronto, Vegas winning in the final. Listen, Vegas is still a cup contender because they're the Golden Knights. Also, like, that division's bad, and they have they have
Jack Eichel and Mark Stone and
true win-loss. I think they have more losses than wins. They're like obviously with points percentage and overtime losses and everything, they're an over NHL 500 team.
Kelly's looking like the clear winner here right now.
Yeah, you're looking at, Charlie has Florida
Kelly's
winning
the front
East.
runner by a mile right now.
I am going to be changing my selection.
Oh, wow.
I am going to go, man.
I'm going to have, if you want to think about it.
Let's hear yours, Steve. Let's hear what yours is, because I don't want to do the same thing.
Right now, I'm thinking the Dallas Stars and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay made maybe the most questionable move of the day by getting 245-year-old Corey Perry today. I can't believe that guy, number one, is slightly younger than me, and number two, is still playing hockey in the National Hockey League. It's insane to me, and he's going back for another stint in Tampa Bay. So maybe I have to rethink that. But Tampa Bay, the East is weird.
It's a safe bet to bet Tampa to get to and lose the Stanley Cup Final simply based on having Corey Perry.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd rather acquire, 245-year-old Corey Perry than Nic Deslauriers like Carolina did, which I love your theory from the beginning of the show that, Dr. T had to go to the bathroom and Rod Brindamore snuck onto the phone, was like, get me Nic Deslauriers right away. Get me D-Lo. He's got to do the dance for us guys in the locker room, the elbow room dance.
Yeah, I don't want to do the same as you. So you have the Stars and
Lightning.
I have
the Stars and the Lightning. I really like the Stars. I think they're deep. They have the goalie. They have a lot of the factors I like. I wanted to go with Colorado. Colorado's really...
They've been 500 since the start of the new year.
And I feel like they're so dependent on McKinnon in particular because he's the man. He's unbelievable. But
now maybe they're like, listen, we were on 150-point pace. We can put it in cruise control. We have Stanley Cup experience. We have playoff experience. We know we can flip the switch. Landeskog was hurt for a while for them.
Yeah.
Maybe they're able to do that. They made some ads.
I like Martin Necas a lot, but I like the Stars depth.
I don't think I'm going to go with the Avs. I do think I'm going to go with a team out of that division.
I am going to don't play each other in the first round this year. That was ridiculous.
I am going to have the Minnesota Wild taking this thing. Bill Guerin's magical year continues. Taking it over. I am also going to pick... You know what? No, I'm not going to pick Tampa.
Good.
Buffalo Sabres.
Buffalo Sabres, let's go!
Why the hell not? Why the hell not? They go on a magical run.
Move right there.
It does. I think they're going to stick with, you know what? We're not going to move Alex Tuck. He's going to be our own rental. We're going to move forward with this thing and see what we can do. And the East is so wide open. Maybe Alex Lyon backstops them all the way to the Cup Final.
Now, you want to talk about
Hughes.
something that would make Flyers fans super angry. Alex Lyon going to the Stanley Cup Final would 100% make everybody infuriated. I love the Buffalo pick there. I think Buffalo is such an interesting team. I hated their move to get Luke Schenn.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, he's probably going to be in the press box for them.
Yeah.
Logan Stanley will, in all likelihood, be in their top 6, but I think it's going to be Luke Schenn as an extra. And hey, Luke Schenn, in a limited role in years past, has been good for some pretty good playoff teams.
Absolutely.
He is 150 years old now, but as an extra guy, I think you could do a lot worse. Like, I'd take Luke Schenn over Noah Juleson.
Good vibes. Good vibes for sure. Yeah, we all like the Schenner.
We have at least 10 super chats. So
Schenn's got moved today.
Yeah, look at that. And not together. That was the thing last year. It was
the brothers got to play together.
Teams that were interested in one were like, I only want both. That was their thing. I only want
both. Guys, they played on the Flyers together, and it wasn't good. You have enough evidence.
I thought Luke bullied Brayden because as soon as they traded Luke Schenn, Brayden became really good for the first time. Like, that was Giroux kind of gets hurt down the stretch, and it's Ghost and it's Luke and Brayden Schenn that are like powered that 2016 team to the playoffs, and after they traded Luke and Vinny LeCavalier. But anyway, let's get to some super chats. I don't think we're gonna get Charlie before we wrap up, so we will see when we talk to him. But all right,
see if any quotes pop up online.
Brendan Martin leads things off. Says Garrett Wilson wanted out of New York so bad he changed sports. Did I get his name wrong too? That is the name of the Flyers captain, right? Did I get
Phantoms captain?
Yeah, Phantoms captain. Yes, I am just team names are no good for me today. All right,
the Carolina Panthers play great hockey.
They do. The Carolina Panthers are a hell of a keep pounding. All right, next one is from K-Red. Good to hear from K-Red. Which is more disrespectful, a 2028 7th or a conditional 7th? I kid. This conditional 7th is funny. I haven't seen the conditions yet, but what Charlie had been told is like maybe it's a games played thing or something, and there's almost no chance he plays that number of games for a Stanley Cup contending Carolina Hurricanes team.
He shouldn't play any games for a team that's not even close on the Flyers, let alone for a Stanley Cup contender that's near the top of the Eastern Conference.
I think just bringing him in probably as we hear he's a great locker room guy.
Oh, it's all vibes. He's just going to do that elbow room dance every night for them.
So, he'll be a fun guy to have. Say you win the cup, he'll be a fun guy to have at the party afterwards, at the parade.
God. Can we talk about how he tears his shirt, by the way? It is one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. Like, I was remarking on this yesterday. Like, what is this? Does he do this with scissors? Like, how does he do this? It's bizarre.
He's just that strong.
It's all vibes. Anyway, I think the conditional's more disrespectful because you don't know that you're actually going to get it. But what does Brian Burke always say about 7th round picks, Bill?
Oh, the funniest story. I listened to a couple of shows that he is a guest on, and I think it was on Marek's show. He tells stories like he'd be at the table. They've been there for 2 days. It's forever. And like his scouts start arguing about what they should do with their last 7th round pick. And he was like, I traded it because I don't want to hear this anymore. This isn't an NHL player. It's probably not even an AHL player. Like, what are we arguing about? I want to go to the bar. And he would trade his 7th and leave. And the league eventually got mad at him. Like, you're not allowed to just leave. He's like, I'm Brian Burke. I don't care.
I'm Brian Burke. Look at my hair. It's this tall.
I was hoping to see like 2032 picks traded today because I love the idea of trading guys like, the player who will be picked with that is like 11 years old right now.
Well, like you think about the Giroux trade, right? With, you got Tippett, and the pick was like last year's, right? Or was it this year?
They kicked it down the line once because it was the year Florida won their first cup.
Yeah. And but it was like Florida's first available.
Yeah, they transferred it to the following year and to Edmonton. And then they traded up. It was like they traded up with the Nesbitt. So yeah, like they made that pick last year, and he got traded 4 years ago.
It was one of those when it happened. It was like, well, they got a first, but it's not for a while. Okay.
Yeah, and that's the other kind of thing. Like Danny has shown in the past the willingness to do that. Like, all right, it's a first in 2027.
That one was Chucky 2 trades, my friend.
Yeah, no, I'm just like with the
my buddy
Lawton
Craig
trade
would always say Chucky 2 trades.
The Lawton trade last year, like it's a first in 2027, like kicking it down the line a little bit. I thought maybe that would be the response, but no.
It's the only time you actually got to give it to Chuck Fletcher because you absolutely do not.
We have said that multiple times lately, like seeing how a couple of these like guys with protection only willing to go one place, how those trades work out, and it's like Damn, good job, Chuck.
Yeah.
All right, next one here is from Chris Lanek or something. Lancey. You will never get a first for Lawton. A year later, we get a potential unprotected 2028 pick for the Leafs, who are in free fall. Yeah, it looks like I don't think they're going to be able to fall. Like, someone broke it down what they would have to do to fall into the top 5 for that pick not to transfer to Boston, which would then kick theirs down the road and kick ours to 2028. It's pretty much impossible, but they could win the lottery, so who knows?
Who knows? Who's to say? They won the lottery on the TSN thing today. They got number 1.
Oh, good for them. Of course, on TSN.
I know. It was like, they're like, we didn't rig this, guys.
Yeah, we own the team.
Yeah.
All right. If only Comcast owned the league, that would be nice.
If only Comcast owned a big, well, they used to have the network that had the rights for the league, but then they did a terrible job.
All right, Local Drunk 69 says, this was the Fletcher JVR moment for Briere. If they keep Risto, they better make the playoffs next year or Briere has to go. Tired of picking 14. Couple of things here. JVR, you just needed to get rid of because it's what you do with an expiring contract. Like, okay, we'll cover 50% and you give us a fifth. Who cares? Risto, there was a price for, and you can still trade him. I do not believe.
Still, like, JVR was at the end of his rope. Like, JVR was playing maybe a couple minutes a night at that point.
I do not believe Risto will be on this team in camp. I have to operate under that belief, but it still doesn't take away from the disappointment of today. So this picking 14th thing.
Yeah.
Under Danny Briere, yes, they were picking 12th, traded the 13th for Jet Luchenko. Bookending that draft, they picked 7th to get Michkov and 6th to get Martone. The year before that with Chuck, they picked 5th to get Cutter. Now they have the 6th pick from that draft and David Jiricek. They don't draft 14th all that often. They did, trade up to get to that for Jack Nesbitt, but that was with other picks that were at 18 and 28 or something.
They just moved up and they gave up 1 pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, which people you're like, they traded 2 picks they traded 1 pick and they moved up with the other.
All right, next one here is David Shub, one of the Shub brothers weighing in. The Philadelphia Boring Boars. After last night's game, I was hoping for a little more excitement today because last night's game is, Steve, I know we've said this a lot.
It's bad.
That was maybe the worst game I've ever watched. It was so damn boring. Nothing happened in that game. My instant reactions are just like, I don't know, because I am watching Twitter for trade updates.
What I always do with those games, like when we're doing post game, is I'm going to have to talk really slow during this one.
But it was, I guess,
that's all pretty
the Brink trade is cool. Like, it is cool.
Brink trade's a good one.
And if they do the Risto thing, it's an exciting, fun day.
Oh,
but we only get a nice, potentially intriguing move and not the, hey, here's a centerpiece move.
It's like you ordered lunch, right? And you got the fries and you got the drink, but you didn't get the sandwich. So the fries were really good and it was a fine drink, but you didn't get the sandwich that you went to the shop for in the first place.
And the bump call up, if that does eventually happen, that'll be fun as a result of trading a couple of wingers today. So we'll see. But yeah, it was a boring, disappointing deadline for the Flyers. No doubt. Next one, J.E. Frucione. While I am disappointed that Risto isn't gone, it's tough to judge until we know what the true asking price was compared to what other clubs got for their players. Their rebuild has longer to go. It certainly does. And listen, again, if he gets the price that he wants at the draft, all right, cool, man. It took a little longer than we wanted, just like the Lawton thing took a whole nother year. But it is, I think we can live with it if that happens. But again, today is today, and today is disappointing.
Yeah, today is disappointing. If they can get a first at the draft, I will be fine with this.
Oh, yeah.
Or a good prospect. I will take a hockey trade. What I really liked about the Brink move today is that's a hockey trade.
Yes.
That's actually a guy that has a potential to be good for you in the next couple years. I know he has a lot of work to do on his game, but he's 22 years old. He's a big body. This guy has real potential to be a good player for you at a position you need young players at.
And also, just in terms of potentially making trades this summer or in the future, a 6'3", 6'4", right-handed defenseman who was drafted 6th overall will always have some sort of value.
Yeah.
You can, and I'm not saying,
before he's
we
25.
flipped him 1-for-1 for Austin Matthews, but I'm saying, like, he could easily be part of a package. Like, Lucas Spiza was part of a freaking package to get us Chris Pronger.
Lucas Pizza?
He could easily be a guy that is highly valued by another organization somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, and
or
also,
he works out here and everything's good.
Well, and the other thing is you have a lot of good guys on defense, but I wouldn't say a lot of great. It's like maybe if you got to flip like a Drysdale or a York as part of a deal, that gives you a little bit more flexibility, or even Bonk.
Yeah.
That gives you more flexibility to do those kind of moves. So
they don't have NHL-ready D prospects.
I like the perspective from Fruscione here where, you know, the rebuild does have a lot more to go, and it is disappointing today for sure. But I think if they can get that first or a good hockey move for him in the offseason, I'll be a lot less disappointed. But yeah, it's a bummer today. This was the time to trade him.
It's an exciting, fun day, and we didn't get our thing. You know, like we
had an
wanted
hour.
a thing, we didn't get our thing.
I wanted the trade to happen like as I walked in the door today, so we could have just talked about
I feel like when I was a kid, the PS2, all my friends like basically got IOUs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it's ordered, but it ain't here on Christmas Day. Like, that's how I am feeling about Risto, because I do think they're going to trade him at some point after the season. But like,
just
I want
doesn't
it
fit
now.
the timeline.
It's Christmas morning. I want it now.
Well, the other fact is, as soon as I saw that they traded for a right-handed, big-body defenseman, I said they're 100% trading Risto. And I
Kind of felt like it was a 1-for-1 sort of thing.
It feels like a move that goes in conjunction with the other thing. So I do think they were expecting to trade Risto, but it just didn't happen for whatever reason. Again, wildly curious to see what Briere says.
All right, next one here is from Who is Mike Mall. Flyers fans, it's time to get drastic. Mike, I just got to say, who the hell in Flyers fandom hasn't been drastic for 3 years at this point?
Dramatic fan base.
Yeah, like,
I mean, like, I don't know. It's, if you want to organize a boycott of the games, go for it. But like, the other thing
I
is,
think
like,
the fans last night have grounds for a class action suit, quite honestly.
Absolutely. Have the Flyers harmed you by playing a boring hockey game that you played hard-earned money for? Come see me today. But like, I do think, like, I don't know. I know they want to be good. Like, I know Keith Jones more than anybody knows how, like, Danny Briere might not be terminally online, but Keith Jones is very locked into the fan base and knows how we feel. So I do think they want to make the playoffs, and I think they want to make a big swing. But Danny Briere had a philosophy today that I'm going to stick to my guns, and he stuck to them big time. I don't know, man.
Now
There's
we'll
a lot
see.
to do. It's a big old rebuild. It is okay to be pissed off today.
Sure, 100%. I know we say a lot of times, like, all right, everyone's mad because everyone's always mad. And when you look at Twitter, like, that's just a forum of mad people, regardless of subject matter.
And it's always been that way,
Yeah.
but it's just gotten worse over the years.
But, like, today is a day where I do think it's appropriate to be like, what the hell are they doing?
I mean, like,
Especially if we find out, like, the Detroit offer was the first and third that went for Justin Falk.
If you don't want to go to the games, by all means, it's expensive to go to a hockey game, but like, I don't know. That's up to you guys. Talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, have that conversation with yourself.
You want to wear some bags, cool, but
yeah.
like, it was, I know this like sounds so crappy today, but like, it was never going to be the year. It was never going to be this year. Even if they traded for Robert Thomas, who I would have 100% traded for, except not at the price they're asking for, but that's an actual top line center that is available. Even if they traded for Robert Thomas, this team was not going to win the Stanley Cup this year.
Thomas is good, and we have to trigger overtime.
Woo.
Go to allphly.com to finish watching today's trade deadline special. Like, Robert Thomas would fill a huge need for this team.
Yeah.
But you know what? He plays for the Blues, who stink. He's not getting them to the playoffs himself.
No.
You know?
And he's also got pretty, lousy numbers, especially in comparison to the rest of his career. Maybe if you can work out a deal for him in the offseason and maybe get some more support and rework this team. It was never going to be this year. Next year with Martone, and maybe if they can trade for a center, then we could be cooking with gas. This was not the year, and trading Ristolainen was not going to change that.
All right, let's get through some of these, the rest of these super chats. Next one, it's Chris Lancey again. The rebuild and GM Danny is a complete failure without the late second round pick they would have got for Risto this year. Hashtag sarcasm.
This is great sarcasm. I have to applaud the sarcasm.
Like, if it was a second, and other stuff, I think we can swallow that pill. But
We
I
can
don't
swallow
think
it.
Danny was going to ever accept, unless the prospect is like top 10 from the last 2 drafts.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, if like Boston wanted him and James Hagan's is the prospect, sure. But other than that, like, I don't think he was ever going to accept something like that. It always had to be a first round pick and maybe something else.
And I think the second, if it was a second, I do understand holding on, because they don't have to trade him. It was not the expiring contract of JVR or Scott Lawton. They don't have to trade him because he's still got that year. And again, he's a decent hockey player. He's actually like a good guy to have in your back end. But the big concern is he going to get injured before they can actually trade him.
I do wonder, and this is something I'll talk to Charlie about whenever I get to talk to him next. The Flyers have made a big deal about having the cap space they have coming into this summer. Part of that is the expiration of buyouts and retained salaries. If there was a need to retain for Risto through next season, okay, now suddenly it's not as clean. I mean, what would it be, like 2.55 mil would be the 50% retention there. Like, I don't know how much that holds you back when they're scheduled to have like 40 mil in money this summer. But I wonder if that would have been a sticking point too, just because like he's been looking at it. Atkinson coming off, Hayes coming off, Lawton coming off. Oh, we got another year of Risto. I wonder if that was a sticking point as well.
I do wonder if that was a sticking point. That's a good question right there. Trade news an hour later, and it's actually a big one. Nazem Kadri is headed back to the Colorado Avalanche.
I wondered if they were going to, so now down the middle,
Yeah.
McKinnon, Kadri, and Brock Nelson. So they are loading up.
Maybe that puts them in that Stanley Cup pick. I don't know. But I thought that was worth mentioning because that is actually a huge trade. An hour later. This stuff is nuts.
I wonder if you can file an extension like with your taxes. Like, Gary, hold on. Hold on,
Gary. We got a couple deals.
We're almost there.
Got a couple details.
Like, we're in the queue, but we're still negotiating on the other phone. Like, no, it's done. We promise.
Briere is talking, by the way, right now. So if I see
now.
anything interesting, I'll mention. But
as we make our way through the rest of these super chats, we have PHO1. Flyers season ended with Dvorak signing. Kind of did.
It's weird because like
they won the Stanley Cup against the Ducks, and it's been all epilogue since.
It's funny, yeah. It does. Like, I'll argue in favor of a lot of that contract, but I certainly can't argue that they've been just hot fried butt since then. I usually use a different word, but I wasn't sure. You know how many words I can use.
All right. Yeah. Next one here is JH again. Bill saying you got to trade Risto this summer. Laughing emojis. It could still happen. Like, I wonder if Danny softens on his price. I wonder if they're like, we can't possibly bring this guy to camp with Bonk close. Murchison got a call up this year. We want to get a look at McDonald. We just traded for Jiricek. Like, you can't just let these guys cook forever. I know, like, no one ever got hurt by a few more games in the AHL, but at a certain point, like, there needs to be a graduation.
Bonk missed a lot of time,
yes.
So Bonk was not going to be ready this year regardless. Like, Bonk is just, like, getting up to speed.
He's starting to get to speed now, yeah.
Yeah, so Bonk wasn't going to come up this year. So I do understand from that perspective, but, like, I don't know. You know what I would have, honestly, if I'm Galaxy branding this? Like, if you could have moved one of Ristolainen or Juleson, like, have a fallback to, I mean, who wants Juleson? But if you could have moved Juleson for that conditional 7th, right? I would have done that because having both of them is redundant.
Yes.
I understand having one of them. I don't really understand having Juleson, but I'm pretending to. But I do understand having one of them. Having them both for the rest of the season is ridiculous. I would rather have, honestly, I'll see Yinning in there. You know, I'll see anybody in there because I don't care about the team succeeding. I just want to see young guys in there this year.
Especially now. Like, all right, you had me fooled for the first half of the season, but I know what this team is now.
Maybe if Murchison was around still.
Maybe.
Murchison looked really good for that cup of coffee he had here.
I liked what I saw. All right, next one here is from David Shub. Danny can't speak, hiding under his desk right now. Danny is currently speaking, and we will have some sort of content featuring Charlie on Danny in the very near future.
Danny ain't hiding. He's just like, okay.
All right, next one is Purple Crayon. I really thought the Jiricek move signaled a Risto deal, but alas, I was mistaken. Disappointed, but not upset he didn't move.
Good attitude.
Yeah, it's a disappointment. Hopefully they're able to trade him this summer and we can all just forget about Rasmus Ristolainen, but 21 games is a lot of time to get hurt.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it's okay to be upset, but I wouldn't get too, overworked about this. This is not the end of, it's not a disaster, but it's not good.
I just wanted another first. Like going into a draft with one. Going into a draft with one's boring.
When you get the damn first in the offseason, I'm happy, but just get the first. I'm tired of Risto.
And I think this last one here is from K-Red. Yes, over under on when we trade for Adam Jiricek. He's going to be part of the Risto deal.
Sure.
Yeah, at the draft.
As long as he's not the main part of the Risto deal. I'll take any. I don't care.
All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Trade Deadline Special. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, you got to hit that subscribe button. Thanks to the thousands of people who tuned in today. If you haven't already subscribed, follow us right here on the PHLY Sports YouTube page. We'll have pre and post game tomorrow for the Penguins-Flyers matchup. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. And follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. And make sure you check out Flyperbole. Steve and the whole BSH crew do a great job. Thank you so much to our producers today. Brenna, the best in the business. Helping hand from Ethan as well. Woo! Absolutely great work from everyone here today. That is it for us. I am Bill Matz. That is Steve Jaco. Thanks to Charlie as well. Be excellent to each other.
All silly like the mayor.